Ladies and gentlemen, the comeback restarts here today at New Hampshire, the New England 200 at the Magic Mile, the New Hampshire International Speedway. This is going to be a 200-lap, 200-mile race today for the NASCAR Busch Series on a Do It For Dale Series race on the channel. 16 races to go to crowning a Busch Series champion. We're getting down to the end of the season, and our driver Dale Earnhardt Jr., although he's in the top 10 in points, currently sitting 8th, is 532 points out of first place. Clint Bowyer far and away has been the best driver this Busch Series season. Comes into today's race with 6 wins, including winning each of the last 2 races. He already qualified inside the top 6, so he'll be starting towards the front of the field again today, and currently has over a 300-point lead over Chance 2 Motorsport teammate Martin Truex Jr. for the championship right now. He is almost 3 full races worth of points ahead of second place. And it is going to take at least 2 DNFs, if not 3, for somebody else to likely win this championship. So barring a catastrophe here for Bowyer at the end of the season, he should win the title. But we're going to fight regardless of the fact, even though we're 532 points out of first, we're barely over 200 points out of second place. So if Bowyer does have those DNFs, Dale Jr. needs to be right there to sweep up Bowyer's mistakes at the end of the season. Dale Jr. has not had a bad season by any means, just because he's that many points out of first place. He's still got double-digit top 10s through the first 19 completed races, and obviously has 4 wins to show for, which is the second most of any driver this season. But obviously, Clint Bowyer's just that much further ahead of everybody else, and he is a Busch Series regular, so it's kind of sad he's beating all the Cup regulars as well this season. There's a few of them in the top 10. Obviously, Truex is 2nd, Dale Jr.'s in 8th. I think Bobby Labonte's in 6th or 7th in the standings as well. So there are some that are in the top 10, but obviously, Clint Bowyer's just whooping everybody right now, and it's about time that comes to an end. We'll see if today will be the day. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, live realistic commentary once again today. And with that being said, the Chance 2 Motorsport Chevrolets have a front row lockout and will lead the field to the green today. Dale Jr. leads the field to the green flag at New Hampshire. Made a bit of an adjustment change from qualifying to practice. Tried to snug the car up a little bit. He wanted that edgier setup for qualifying purposes. I think Dale Jr. should have the fastest car in the field today, as long as he didn't tighten it up too much for the beginning of this race. The only big thing here is that this is likely going to be a fuel mileage race. It seems like the 1 mile tracks in this game, you could go right around 100 laps on fuel. And for whatever reason, also in this game, in both the Busch and the Cup Series, on short tracks or tracks that are 1 mile and shorter in length, I seem to have less fuel than everybody else. I seem to burn through it more, I should say, than everybody else. So that could be problematic if Dale Jr. ends up putting himself in that situation. We don't get any cautions today, so probably going to hope for a caution or 2 to try and help Jr. make it on 1 stop. So it's at least 1 stopper, but maybe 2. And it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to develop, because obviously Dale Jr. needs to be perfect from here to the end of the season if he's going to want to win the title. Which again is insane, because he's had a great season so far. He's on pace for over 20 top 10s this season, so it's not like he's having a bad year for consistency. And he's got 4 wins, so he's on pace for about 7 or 8. This is just insane that Clint Bowyer has put together a literal video game-like season so far. Martin Truex Jr. has been able to hold off Bobby Labonte these first few laps for 2nd place. Labonte's been on a hot streak, podium finish in each of the last 3 races, and had that win 3 races ago as well to show for Labonte's sake. His first and only win of the season. We've had 9 different winners in the Busch Series season so far, if I remember correctly. And right now, Dale Jr. is over a half a second ahead of his teammate Truex in the early going of this race. Good for Earnhardt. We'll see if these Chance 2 Motorsport cars can finish 1-2 in the field today. We'll take the field pass with Martin Truex Jr. at lap 15. Just going to try to run down the 81 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now. Big run through turns 1 and 2. And Truex hooked all 4 tires down below the apron currently. And Truex is going to go up here and take the lead away from Dale Jr., at least attempt to. Earnhardt leads that lap at the line. About a half a car length, maybe less. Truex into turns 1 and 2 quickly makes up that gap and will take the race lead away. And this is all to get Truex 5 bonus points, and then obviously we'll go back to Dale Jr. and allow him to get up here as well. Get back to the lead. There we go, Martin Truex Jr. Gonna lead his first lap of the race at the line, and we'll go back to Dale Jr., who was right in line behind him into turns 1 and 2. Truex going wide to let Dale Jr. get underneath. No team orders needed there, and Truex is back out in the second place position. But he was able to get 1 lap lead in, 5 bonus points, so Jr.'s not looking to lead wire to wire, looking to help his teammate who is second in the standings. The idea is for these two to finish 1-2 at the end of the year. Obviously, we want Dale Jr. to win the title, but Truex is closest right now. Gonna alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today. Bumper to bumper are the leaders at Chance 2 Motorsports, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Martin Truex Jr. Of course, Dale Jr. wants to make sure he's going to get 10 bonus points today, leading the most laps, trying to get a max points today. That's why he only allowed for Truex to lead just that 1 lap. Race is going to have to be won on pit road. They're going to have to make sure they get the car full of fuel when the time happens. In case it's going to be a one-stop race, if it does stay caution-free this afternoon. Which I definitely think it can. Drove it in really deep. Truex almost got underneath him that time. Team orders are going to make sure that Truex does not pass Dale Jr. this time, only because he got close that time around and Jr. actually felt threatened that Truex was going to get around him. That wasn't the case. Truex is going to go really wide, though, in turns 1 and 2. He's going to fall quite a ways back. And that's going to put a few car lengths of a difference between the top 2 into turns 3 and 4. There was only 1 trip at Milwaukee earlier this season as well for Dale Jr. The only other 1-mile track they would go to would be Dover for his second time. And obviously that was a track that Dale Jr. did not run well at earlier this year. And I don't even know exactly if we do go to Dover another time. But I wouldn't be shocked if we did. I don't know if the 2005 schedule had the Busch Series going to Dover twice. Because I know the Xfinity goes there twice now, and they have for a while, but I don't know when that started exactly, or if it's always been like that. There's obviously a pretty big increment in points between finishing first and second as well, compared to any other position in the field under this points format. 5 points per position for the rest of the top 5, but between first and second, it's a 10-point difference. So you could actually outscore somebody by 15 points if you lead the most laps. And they lead a lap, 20 if they don't lead a lap, finish second, you lead the most. Obviously, Truex has led again already. The idea for Truex today, though, is to try and knock that lead down under 300. I think would be a nice small task for him this afternoon, and who knows, maybe Boyer DNFs today. There is 1 car out of the race already. I don't know who that is. Could you imagine if it's Clint Boyer, though, and he finishes last? I mean, max points day would get Dale Jr. from 535 out of first to less than 400 out of first, just like that in 1 race. We're going to alternate through the different camera angles for the second and final time in today's race at the start-finish line this time by, and we'll swap back to Martin Truex Jr. in the 8 car. We're going to back him off of Dale Jr. just a little bit is going to be the plan here. And I believe Kenny Wallace is currently the 3rd place car. So the Truex backing off of Dale Jr. right now. Allowing Jr. to still lead. The lap car starting to pull ahead a little bit more as well. For 1 more lap of this. Jr.'s running a lot wider. Truex really just trying to hold up Kenny Wallace in the 22 car rather. Truex protects the bottom. Into turns 3 and 4. Closing in on Kenny. Wallace around the outside of Truex into turns 1 and 2, trying to take over second place from the 8 car. 81 leads off turn 2 still. He's going to try to pick this pace back up again. A lot of clean air in front of him as the lap cars really pulled away. That might have helped save a little bit of extra fuel for Dale Jr. as well. I noticed how slow we were the first time. That's why I wanted to get that second field pass out of the way as soon as I could. So pit stops came into play. You never know where everybody's going to exactly cycle. Or if they'll cycle. Right front definitely wearing out on Dale Jr.'s race car at this point in the run. Lap 69 at the start-finish line. Truex is able to hold off Wallace for second. Now it's a 3-car race at the front of the field. Kenny Wallace basically kind of came from nowhere. Big loose moment for Dale Jr. off of turn 2. And that gives Truex a run into the corner. Contact between the 2 cars at the front of the field. Dale's going to hold on to the lead off the exit of turn 4. Wallace almost led that lap at the line that time. Jr. gonna back off, let him go so he can try to cross him over into turns 1 and 2. Gets to the back bumper. Can't get around him there. Earnhardt looks low again. Kenny Wallace might be a bit quicker than both Dale Jr. and Martin Truex Jr. right now. Kenny Wallace will lead his first lap of the race. It took 70 laps, but he is there. It's the first time today that both the Chance 2 Motorsport cars aren't running 1-2 at the front of the field as well. Earnhardt to the inside of Wallace off turn 2, but Wallace with a little bit more straightaway speed. Into turns 3 and 4, Jr. overdrives the corner just a bit. A little loose, and he's going to lose Wallace. Middle exit. Maybe not necessarily Dale Jr.'s race to lose. Kenny Wallace has the fastest short runs or long run speed. Every long run there's a short run, but there's no cautions. There's only going to be one long run. 2 if you count the pit stop. Jr. looking low into turns 1 and 2. Dives underneath the 22 of Kenny Wallace, and he is moving him up the racetrack. A lot of contact. Similar to the way Dale Jr. raced at Milwaukee. It got him to victory lane that day, and he doesn't want to take any risk today. He wants this max points day. Especially if Boyer is the one out of the race right now. Again, there's 2 drivers who have blown an engine. One of them is a blue car. I guess we may find out during green flag pit stops. Made it 101 laps. He's going to have to go 99 laps on fuel in this final run to be able to make it to the finish. It'll be 4 tires and fuel. No speeding penalty here for Earnhardt, and no adjustments on pit road for this first and hopefully for himself only stop of the day. I'm praying. I am intensely praying. Gonna start meditating. Please, maybe make it on fuel. Please let Dale Jr. win. Please let Clint Boyer blow an engine. And Truex is going to come out with a pretty big lead, as I kind of expected. Obviously not going to affect him in the speed department at all. We'll alternate through the different camera angles one final time in today's race over the next half a dozen laps. We'll have 90 laps to go, this time by for Truex. Junior wasn't the only one who made it to lap 101 on fuel either. Petty coming to lap 102. There were other cars that also did. Next car right in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the 108, and he's holding him up, kind of like Junior was when Junior had older tires before he finally hit pit road. Well, Junior thinks that's fair just because he knows he has a much faster car in general, even on equal tires in the 108. Makes a pass on him. He'll throw the block all the way down into turn 3. Oh, and he almost oh my goodness, nearly gets cleaned out by the 108 car. And definitely got Junior up into the outside wall off the exit of the corner. That was costly. And Mayfield gets back around Earnhardt and right back to a 5-second lead again. No caution for that, thankfully. That would have given the field a chance to pit. Junior wouldn't have been able to pit for fuel or tires. And he would have been on older tires on the restart. So he definitely doesn't want to be a cause of a caution if we do get a yellow. Even the 108 not seeing eye to eye right now, though, that's for sure. Mayfield's staying pretty wide. At least on entry into turns 1 and 2. He chopped down in the middle of the corner, but Earnhardt gets underneath him. And Mayfield again runs into the side of Earnhardt. Kind of like earlier. Junior might just send him going into turn 3 this time. He does. He's going to run right into the side of the 79. Slams right into him. He's trying to give himself plenty of room under Mayfield. Junior not appreciating the way the lap cars are racing him right now. Pit, because I'd imagine a lot of other cars, especially the ones that are short on fuel, are going to pit. I don't think you want to restart on old tires at the end of the race. And Truex has an issue. He is leading and he has blown an engine. The second place driver in the standings for the second straight race has blown an engine. Remember, it was J.J. Yaley at Chicagoland who blew up while running towards the front of the field. And this one is Truex, while leading, will blow an engine. That will not only give Dale Jr. the lead, but it'll eventually clinch in the most laps led here in a few laps as well. Right there it is. Dale Jr. has just clinched the most laps led, taking the lead back at lap 122. 30 laps to go now for Dale Jr. 28.311 that last lap, one of his fastest of the race. So he's still putting together some really good times. Trying to click away these laps now as quick as possible. Not so much in fuel strategy mode, he is more in just get this race over with mode before a caution potentially comes out. He's had some bad luck this year, but trying to get more good luck, which he's had at times. And trying to get this 5th win and end Clint Boyer's win streak, which is only a 2 in a row. Not really a streak until you hit 3, in my opinion, but obviously he's been hot. Junior overdrives turns 3 and 4 a bit. Almost got into Michael Jourdain Jr. The 10 car was battling underneath Kyle Busch in the 5. We're both behind a car who was already 1 lap down in the 152. 152 definitely holding up Kyle Busch quite a bit. Jourdain trying to squeeze Busch behind him and use that lap car as a pick. Jourdain stays in front of Earnhardt on the backstretch for right now. A little bit better drive off. Dale Jr. going to put Kyle Busch a lap down. Now trying to put the 10 car of Jourdain a lap down also. 27 laps to go at the line. 11 to go at the line. Definitely going to have less than 10 laps to go if a yellow comes out from now to the end. 1/8 of a tank of fuel left for Dale Jr. lap 190. I think he's going to be at least 2 to 3 laps to the good. Probably closer to 2. But he is going to be good on fuel to the end. We don't have to worry about going past the scheduled distance. 10 to go. More of the leaders on their way in right now. know for a fact they can't make it, and they've stretched it as long as they could on fuel. As many cars as Junior's lapped up to this point, I wouldn't doubt that he can get a one-lap lead on the field and win the race by that kind of a margin of victory. He's got almost a 24-second lead as it is now with 9 to go. Not too many cars on the lead lap anymore. Which would also mean that if a yellow came out, I think he could get away with pitting. Only have a couple cars to pass. But then again, though, we get to this point now, 8 to go this time by. We'd only have 5 or less laps to go on a restart. Knowing he's good on fuel will save a little more with the caution also. I think you have to be committed to staying out of the pits if a caution comes out from now to the end of the race if you're Dale Jr. Heard the 106 car, but overdrives the corner into turns 3 and 4, trying to stay in front of him. 106 having much fresher tires. 7 to go. He's just going to let the 106 car by him in turns 1 and 2. He wants to get to that white flag as soon as he can, but he's not going to risk wrecking the race car here. Especially the car that just came out of the pits that's going to be much faster than him on about 80 to 90 lap fresher tires. Probably over 90 lap fresher tires. 23, a little less than 23.5 second lead. 6 laps remain for Dale Earnhardt Jr. I can't wait to look at the finishing results to see if Boyer DNF'd. If Boyer didn't DNF, then that's kind of a little bit of a sucker punch, but either way, Junior or the max points that he's going to gain on him. A win in general you would gain on a driver. And he hasn't led any laps. Only 3 drivers to lead today. Kenny Walls, Martin Truex Jr., and of course Dale Jr. has by far led the most. He's going to lead over 75% of the race, so that's for certain. He's already clinched that. Not going to get underneath the 106, making sure he has a wide exit to the corner. Knowing there was a glitch. I think it was at, what, lap 82, 83? Somewhere around there. Been over 100 laps. I have to be careful of that in my cup race then. Three to go this time by. 106 car blocking Earnhardt off turn 2. Junior has no intention to get past him here. Dark red on that fuel indicator now. At about the time of 2.5 laps to go. So Dale Jr. definitely good on fuel to the finish. 2 laps to go for Earnhardt. If he gets to the white flag, it'll be a caution-free race today because no cautions come out in the final lap in this game. A 24-second lead. Other drivers trying to make it on fuel in just 1 stop. A lot of drivers have had to pit before the end of the race, but not all of them. And again, the white flag will be waving this time by. So he sits behind the 106 car again. And will continue to do so for another lap. There it is. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for Dale Earnhardt Jr. The first caution-free Busch Series race on NASCAR 6 on the channel. And it's a 100% race. 200 lap, 200 miler at New Hampshire. Junior to the inside of the 106 off turn 2. He's going to lift. He's going to give him plenty of room to make that corner into 3 and 4. Smooth day for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Max points to go along with it. He'll gain in the championship standings. Junior will win his 5th race of the season at New Hampshire. And he is coming for Clint Boyer. The comeback starts here, ladies and gentlemen. Junior gets the Menard Chevrolet back in victory lane again this year. Nice burnout show on the front stretch. And we'll take a look at the race results today. 178 of the 200 laps led for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Only 2 cars finished on the lead lap that made it on fuel on just 1 stop. There might have been some lap cars that made it on 1 stop earlier that finished inside the top 10 as well. But no guarantees to be able to actually tell whether that was the case or not. But Junior from the pole gets the max points today. Only 8 lead changes in today's race. 22.2 seconds was the margin of victory. Hour, 35 minutes total time on today's Busch race. Very quick one with the going caution free. 132.67 miles per hour was the average race speed. 178 laps led again. Smith ends up finishing in second. Brandon Miller finished third. Lance Trigger ended up fourth, and John Hamilton rounds out the top 5. I know he's in the top 10 in the standings. Bobby Labonte also ahead of us in the standings, gets the top 10, finishing 6th. He ran top 10 all day. Brian Vickers ends up finishing in 7th. Kenny Walls fell back to 8th. Must have had to pit late. Led 3 laps today. Sweeney finishes 9th, and Shane Meal rounds out the top 10. I don't see Boyer anywhere. I think he DNF'd. We'll take a look at who all DNF'd. Yeah, Clint Boyer finishes last. Wow, so he didn't lead a lap. DNF'd at lap 26. Blew an engine early in the race. Irvin blew an engine. Martin Truex Jr., we saw him blow an engine while leading at lap 122. He led 19 laps in today's race. Let's go. Now we get to check out the point standings. Next race will be at the UPS Speedway for the Switch Track 350. 350 laps on a half-mile short track. That's quite a bit on this game for a Busch race. But it is on a half-mile short track. That's longer than the Dodge Raceway race, and that was less than a half-mile short track. So one of the longer races of the season will be next. But Dale Jr.'s been good on the short tracks. Obviously just won today. Won the previous one at Milwaukee. He's got a shot at another short track again today. Well, not today, but next time. In the next race. Yeah, Boyer's... I was going to say. So with Boyer blowing an engine as well as Martin Truex Jr., he still has over a 300-point lead in the standings. So he is still over 2 races worth of points ahead. Shane Meal will move up to 2nd. Bobby Labonte with a 6th place finish up to 3rd. Yaley, who finished a lap down outside the top 10, he is back to 4th now. He lost a spot in the standings. Dale Jr. moves up 2 spots from 8th to 6th and goes from 535 points out of 1st to 379 points out of 1st place now. There we go. Martin Truex Jr. fell from 2nd to 7th in the standings after 1 DNF. And he's 384 back. That's how tight it is, though. I mean, Dale Jr. isn't that far out of 2nd. With Truex blowing an engine. I mean, obviously past Truex was blowing an engine today. Hamilton had a top 5. Bobby Labonte had a top 10. Shane Meal had a top 10. Yaley didn't, but obviously Boyer didn't. That's crazy. Boyer still has a 315-point lead. He's still dominating the season. Even with a DNF, he still has over 2 full races worth of lead in points. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.